I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, August the 14th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight shooting telithromycin injection that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, moderate run for them, about 5,000 head, but they've been underestimating, get a lot of day cattle there. But they're going with the 5,000 on the estimation, going to start at 7 o'clock in the morning. Don't forget to check out on YouTube. They now have the videos up for the Cattle Marketing Hall of Fame that happened a couple of weeks ago there at the King of the Ring contest and everything that went with out of Dodge City. They do have the induction ceremony there for the Cattle Marketing Hall of Fame, which included Jackie Moore, and you can watch that on there. And I think you'll find that to be interesting, especially Jackie's acceptance speech. I thought it was very good. Packers cut kills, and that's the way that they're dealing with the tight supplies. Of course, they don't want to compete for the cattle. They don't want to raise the price anymore. The price is up there. It's not the highest that it's ever been. We saw that here a few months ago, but they're just really backing off, not buying any cattle really to speak of in a negotiated manner. They don't want that. They've got all these other cattle spoken for through the formula deals, and that's the way everybody's promised them their cattle. And so even though our supplies are so very tight, especially of the top grading cattle, we can't seem to gain much ground. Now, we did gain a little ground in the northern plains where they do sell some cattle negotiated. We saw from $2 to $3 gain there probably, especially on a dress basis. Really hard to gauge on a live basis yet, but our weighted averages are going to be higher. But we don't know what happened in the southern plains. As of 2 o'clock Friday, they still hadn't traded anything in the southern plains, and I didn't even hear much of anybody talking about maybe something that did happen late on Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see if anything comes through whenever the USDA opens mandatory price reporting and pulls up what the Packers turned in for everything that happened since 2 o'clock up to 10 o'clock on Monday morning. But we see that the estimated slaughter for last week was 603,603. That compares to 645,000 the same week a year ago. And I guess we could say that the Packers could just keep doing that and just cut, and then just not kill any. Don't buy any negotiated cattle. Don't slaughter any negotiated cattle. They can't do that forever, guys. I mean, they've made promises too. That little dab of trade that we saw in your box beef cutouts that we see every day, every business day, that's just your spot trade. That's nothing. For the most part, all of their product that they sell is sold on a formula type deal, out front sales. Somebody's taking so much product every week for forever unless they need to step it up a little bit or back it off. And so we don't really get to see what's going on with that, but they are bound to be getting tight. We know that the cold storage that they have has been running much lower than usual. So are they gonna start getting with it and competing for price? Probably not. The powers that be say that they're running into red ink. I'd be surprised to see if they are in the red ink, but that's what everybody says. And they just do not like that. Corporate type outfits do not like that. So they're going to try to change the few things that they have control of. And one of them is buying negotiated cattle. And they have backed it way off and just not doing it hardly at all. But I wonder if, and I believe there is some, but it'd be hard to gauge how much the increase in local slaughter that we saw since the COVID come on, these smaller locker plants that have been opened up, that have been revamped, that have come online, people are paying more attention to them and using them more. Wonder if that's making an additional difference in the tight supplies of cattle. Now, not in your feedlot numbers and things like that, but it's bound to be making a little bit of a difference there. We know that there's a lot of smaller packers that have gotten into the retail business, and that's bound to be making a difference. And I think your major packers are seeing that a little bit. We've seen some stories, and I've told you some stories about how we're, a small little locker plant, or maybe a little bit one size bigger than that, not as big as a regional plant, but a smaller plant, is starting to get into your majors, knickers a little bit whenever they start featuring it in different supermarkets and things like that. But something that was brought to my attention, and I saw it on the American Association of Meat Processors post there, is the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is expected to update water pollution rules very soon for the first time in over 20 years on small packers and locker plants and things like that. And it is going to cost them a bunch more if it hasn't already hit them. But initial costs are expected to range from as much as $5,000 to $3.2 million, depending on the size of the plant and, of course, where they sit and what the environmental implications are around where they're at. But an annual operating cost in addition to that ranging from $5,000 to $400,000 per year. And from what I'm hearing, it is threatening these small and medium locker plants and threatening their existence. Well, we don't know how many of them are going to be able to pay that, but they said it could force as many as 85% of them out of business with new Biden regulations. And right after we just got through coming through the COVID, and we realized how vulnerable our food system is and how much we need local slaughter and things like that, and then have something new that's coming along that they're already expecting is going to force a lot of them out of business. Seems ridiculous to me. Maybe we'll see some more news about that, but I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. Let's talk about your board for last week. August live cattle futures. Monday started the week out bad, down $1.20. Tuesday was unchanged. Wednesday was up 87 cents. Thursday up 52 cents. Friday down 72. With August live cattle futures ending the week at 180.37, down 53 cents for the week. October ended at 181.32, down 78 cents for the week. August feeder cattle, Monday was down big, down 255. That always sucks when you start out on Monday with your board down big on the cattle. Tuesday was down another 97 cents. Wednesday up $1.15. Thursday up 85. Friday down a quarter, but August feeder cattle ended the week at 247.75, down 177 for the week, with that starting to come to maturation there. September lost $2 for the week at 251.45. New crop December corn was 487 and a quarter a bushel at the end of the week, down 10 cents. New crop November beans ended the week at 1307 and a half, down 25 3/4 cents. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September ended the week at 755 3/4, and that was up, but just 3 1/4 cents a bushel. So for the most part, your ag commodities were down last week. Fat cattle trade up through Thursday of last week, which is what we have all put together there. 18,400 head, which is nothing in the 5-area feeding region negotiated. Live sales ranged in price from 186 to 190, which would be a mile higher, but we don't have a low-end test because we haven't had anything in the Southern Plains, really. A couple of deals in Kansas, but we're going to separate Kansas. Southwest Kansas and Texas are going to drop off just like Colorado has, with no trade soon. Some northern Kansas trade up close to I-70 there, and on top grading cattle and feedlots that feature those northern type cattle, they're going to break away and go up with the north is what it's looking like. But really can't judge what the trend was on that live spread because we didn't have a Southern Plains trade. Dress sales though, $2.95 to $3 in the Northern Plains. That's $2 to $3 higher. Weighted average up through Thursday was $297.06, nearly $2 higher. Now on Friday we did have some more trade in the Northern Plains. Iowa sold 5,000, only 16,100 for the week in Iowa. Live sales on Friday in Iowa, 186 to 189, and that's going to be some higher. Dress sales, 295 to 298. Nebraska, 10,500 on Friday. Pretty good movement for them the way things are. But still only 16,700 head for the week, which is about half normal for them on negotiated trade. Live sales in Nebraska, 188 to 190. That was going to be higher. Dress sales, 294 to 296, and that's going to be higher also. Kansas, only 250 head on Friday. Only 1,300 head sold negotiated in Kansas for the week. They had some live sales, and like I said, they're the northern type. They're the better quality cattle. They're getting pulled because of advantage on quality going to the regionals or going to the northern plants. They've just everybody in the southwest Kansas and down is just promised everything to them through formula type sales. What are they going to base those off of when they don't have any live sales? It's going to be interesting to see what that's going to be. They just go back to the previous week, and I guess the threshold on how many they have to trade to establish a price is going to be lowered. But do you go in midstream if you have an annual agreement there or contract on your formulas? Do you go in midstream and change that threshold to something lower? I don't know. Be interesting to see. Kansas had some sales at 185. They were on better cattle. They had some 186 better cattle. That's not the commodity cattle in the southwest Kansas region, and nothing in Texas to trade on. Had some 298 dressed in Kansas also, but that's going to be a northern type deal. Texas sold 37 head of cattle negotiated last week. There was some dairy cross cattle at 180. Probably Packers trying to get the price established on some poor quality cattle. Give 180 for dairy cross. That's as good as they gave for any cattle last week. That's the way this game is played, guys. Packers playbook. Now the Fed Cattle Exchange, talked to Forrest Roberts there at the end of the week, and he said they traded a string of really top quality, mostly prime heifers. They were program cattle fed up in Montana. They sell them FOB live there at 191 and a quarter on the Fed Cattle Exchange, and had active bidding from both regionals and majors. So, that's good to see when they do that. I wish we could see a little bit more of it. You'll never see that happen down here in the Texas Panhandle, getting after a deal like that. They don't want to tip their hand. But he did say that he's had several lots of cattle that were offered in the Texas Panhandle. Major Packers did bid up to 180 on those cattle, but they had a reserve hold on those higher than that. So we did not see any trade, but we did see 180 bids. Well, that would have been steady, so steady bids on Friday on the Fed Cattle Exchange. And like I said, I'm sure there was some trade. We'll find out what that is, and I'll tell it to you on the next visit. Box beef cutout values continue lower. And the weighted average for last week on all of your choice cuts, 302.41, down 56 cents compared to the weighted average in the previous week. Select cut sales all of last week, weighted average was 276.87, down 105. Your late week select sales are about 50 cents higher than that on Friday afternoon. Late week choice sales are about steady with that weighted average from last week. Choice select spread on the weighted average about $25.50 on 517 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, which is not a lot, just kind of on the moderate side. Your slaughter, and I opened up the report with that, 603,000. And like I told you on our last visit, these are some of the smallest August kills we've seen in about 7 years. So they've just really backed off here. How long they can get by doing that? They normally kill about 650,000 cattle a week for a reason, because that's how much they market. But when you back it way off to just 603, how's that going to fill your needs? I don't know. That's 10,000 less than last week and 42,000 less than the same week a year ago. Estimated slaughter on Saturday was only 3,000 head, guys. Well, they've just squeezed that tap off to nearly nothing. Talk about what else is going on. EverAg agents work with multiple clients in the livestock industry to help answer questions. Navigate risk management with Ever.ag. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction, based on the average from say 7 to 899 pound steers, cash auction steers, up through your middle 12 states, all thrown together in a 7-day moving average, just like your CME cash feeder cattle index. Ended the week at 245.56, up $1.27 for the week, when the feeder board was down $1.77 and your fat board was down over 50 cents. So still good cash trade on yearlings. The good ones are getting harder to find, and it doesn't take as many of them to draw a crowd as it did a few weeks back, when so many of them were coming off the double stock pastures. But don't forget, here today on Western Video Market, WVMcattle.com, that's going to be the start of the big sale at Old Cheyenne at Little America on Western Video Market, starting Monday here today, this morning, August the 14th at 8 a.m. sharp. And they will be selling lots and lots of yearlings, and a lot of them will be towards the center part of the United States, a lot of them in Wyoming and Colorado, pretty close to your 5-area feeding region, guys, and they will be excellent quality. So you want to get on there and take a look at those big long drives of yearlings, guys. Get on and view. You go to WVMcattle.com, go to DVauction.com, and you can pull up the feed for Western Video Market. You can view and bid right there. It's going to be Monday and Tuesday. Going to have a lot of weaned calves also on this sale, more than most of your video sales, more weaned calves. Also have some lambs and top quality replacement cattle on there. So check out Western Video Market sale in Old Cheyenne here today and tomorrow. Talk about your trends for last week in your auctions. Feeders were steady to $4 higher. Calves $4 to $8 higher. Spots sharply higher where they were well tested on calves. And like I said, your demand for cash feeders is big. A national beef wire stick-out sale for late last week or over the weekend was Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond, Kentucky. My friend Jim Doss there, that 1,100 head. I think I told you last week they were going to have a lot of yearlings in pot loads. They ended up having 13 pot loads of cattle sell in Richmond, Kentucky on Friday, and that's huge. Especially if you know how congested it is there in town. But it's been a good market for a long time, and it's still one of the top markets in that part of the country, guys. You look at these loads I pulled just so you can kind of see what steers went from 780 to 975 pounds, all in load lots there, selling from 231.95, and yes, they do squeeze every drop out of them there in those bluegrass markets, all the way up to 249. Really good market there, Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond. Give you some other quotes from all around. How about Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas? 60 head of steers weighed 889 at 247.50 on Saturday in Fort Scott. Mankato, Kansas, Mankato Livestock on Friday. They sell 61 steers weighed 863 at 253.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, your Mackerson No BS top quote for the day, come out of Bloomington, Wisconsin, and Bloomington Livestock Exchange. They sold 65 steers weighed 835 at 257.50. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.